welcome to another episode of I Take.
D.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Carla.
And here we are. This is still season 5.
Yes.
20 years in the making. Episode 8.
Yes.
I got it. Season 5, episode 8. I was going to do 7. Welcome again. Here we are. We just want to, again, 20 years in the making, talking about our life story. As you have heard before, we've if you've been with us before watching our episodes, this is talking about our life story, who we are, where we've been. Normally we would give you advice based on things that have gone in our lives, but now we are technically through videos, we're opening the doors to our home, and we're just letting you in for a few minutes, so that you know that we're just regular folks having our own struggles and just going through it. So last time you heard us, we talked about how we almost lost our home. This was like back in like 2005. And so today we promised that we were going to fast forward, because it's a lot. This is 20 years of marriage. And so I was going to talk about something that I had to reveal to my wife in 2008. So by then we had already been married for a few years. Got married in 02. This is 08 now. And my wife started noticing just not my attitude. What was it like?
More reserved.
Yep. That's a good way to put it.
More reserved. He wasn't being himself. But also towards me, right? As a wife, you start feeling like the distance
Almost rejected
from your husband.
Yeah, and so you know, I just couldn't hold it anymore, so I had to come clean with her. And so one day I just said, like, you know, hon, I have to be honest with you. And so what I share with her is that very early on in my life, probably already by the age of 10, I had already been introduced to pornography. And you know, you think that as you get older and when you get married, these things will go away, and you think you can fix it on your own. You think that you don't need anybody to fix you. You think that things would just go on their own, that you don't need God's help, that you don't need no one's help, that maybe it's something that you can just continue to hold as a secret from people. And I just could not do it. I could not. It was weighing very heavy on my heart. My wife was starting to ask questions, and I told her from the beginning when we started dating that I wasn't going to be the type of guy that she couldn't trust. I didn't want to be the type of guy that keep secret from each other, no matter how hard they were. I also promised her early on, and when we were dating, that I wanted to be, you know, that I wanted to make her feel like a queen, like a princess, and that, you know, I wanted to respect her and love her with all my soul. But you know, we carry these baggages into marriage, and we just never really talked about that. It's a very shameful conversation. Even when we were going to talk about it today, I appreciate that she asked me. She's like, "You sure you want to like let the world into that secret?" Because it was tough. It was very tough. So one day, you know, I said, "Look, I got to talk to you." I don't even know. So at one point we were talking about this, and you actually thought that I was
being unfaithful,
that I was cheating on her with a, like, you know, out there, because of my secrecy. You know, I was being very distant. And she had even shared with me that you had, what did you do? I don't remember. I was like, wow, women are really good. And I'm glad, women, that intuition you have, just don't ever doubt your intuitions. And man, I'm not trying to like put dirt on you. It's just, you know, if there are secrets, then, you know, there has to be, first of all, there has to be some level of maturity to talk about these things. And I'm not saying that there's no consequences to the things that we share. What I'm saying is that there still has to be a level of maturity from both ends to talk about very difficult conversations.
Yes.
So
you have to be ready for them.
Yeah, you have to be ready for them.
You have to be able to be ready to receive what's coming.
Yeah.
And be able to be prepared how to respond.
Yeah. And so very early on in our relationship, I knew she came from a previous relationship where they were unfaithful to her, or not they, he was unfaithful to her, and I knew that she had shared with me that she had insecurities within herself and things that she didn't wanna, that she just trauma. It's trauma. And so very early on, I had to overcompensate for it in the way that, like if I was leaving work, I would call her and I would tell her, look, I'm on my way home. And I was very open about everything in my life because I didn't want anything to be of like, what's going on here? But when she noticed that, she told me that at some point she would check my phone when I was taking a shower or something.
Yep, I would. Women know when something's not right. You just have that feeling and that urge. But for me, I didn't react on it or my assumptions because at that time they were just assumptions.
Right.
They just maybe happening, but I don't want to jump the gun because we have to be really careful in jumping the gun of something that is not true because we might hurt our husband's and our spouse's feeling because it may not be true. But because I just felt like he was cheating or
here, yeah.
he was having an affair just because of the distance that he had, he was just closed up, and there were just certain things that were not right. I began to look at his phone when he was taking a shower.
Yeah, she started looking for trends.
I started looking in his jacket and in his pant pockets to see if there's anything there. And I remember telling him at one point, I actually went to his car.
Yeah, I didn't even know this, by the way.
I went to his car and he started just...
I found this out like not too long ago, like a few months ago. Yeah, like I'm like, wait, you were checking my car and I didn't even notice.
Yeah, I was checking his car. I was just making sure if there was infidelity or something, he was having, an affair, that you were gonna find something out that you can then ask in question, right? So if I found something, I was going to bring it up to question, and what's this that I found? What does this mean? But I couldn't find anything really for me to even have the guts to kind of like, hey, Joel, this is how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
Are you doing this, right? So I really didn't do that. I think I told you years later.
Yeah.
After we're having our what we call our pillow talk.
Yeah.
Conversations of like, did you know that I actually did X, Y, and Z because of how I felt insecure and I thought something was happening.
Yeah, and so there was something happening. I wasn't with another woman, but I was, I had an addiction to pornography, like really bad. And that caused me to, withdraw because then you have to do these things in secrecy. And, I had to come clean with her. And I came clean and, I needed to face the consequences to that. She couldn't trust me with, late at night watching movies on my own. Being alone for a long period of time and things like that. And then years after, what we did, because we needed healing, right? Like, so she got a Christian book that talks about when your spouse is watching pornography or addicted to pornography, and how can you be of support, but also healing for themselves. Because one of the things that we learned from that book is that you might, some people might say like, well, you were just watching something, so you weren't technically unfaithful. But guess what? I was. That book told us, it's like you were, because guess what? The Bible teaches us that the moment you're even thinking about someone else, you're already committing adultery. And for me, that was very shocking. That's actually why I was like, oh my God, I didn't even think about it that way. I thought that it took an action, like, going somewhere and meeting someone, and but the book share with the Carla read that, that is adultery. And I really had to come clean with God and ask God for forgiveness and begin a moment of restoration with the Lord. Seek counseling, because that was the other piece that I shared with you at the beginning. We always think that we can handle this on our own. I don't need God. I don't need my spouse. I can do this on my own. folks, if you are struggling with pornography, you I can't stress this enough. You cannot do this on your own. It's going to be very, very difficult to have to come clean. But at some point, either find some counseling so that you can at least start getting this out of your system. Because I do have some things that happened to me that kind of push me towards that. I have people who exposed me to it, friends from my neighborhood who exposed me to things that I should have never been exposed to at a young age, at the age of 10. So I've been dragging that. Now I'm 28 by that time, and I've been dragging that. So I had to come clean. And I'm glad I did, because it took a weight off my shoulders. So we go through that. It was very, very difficult.
I had to find healing, right? I mean, I don't want you to think like, oh, that it happened. How did you move on from it?
Oh my God,
so quickly?
No.
I'm like, no, I didn't move on from it so quickly. Because all that spiked up some insecurities on myself.
Yeah.
The insecurities and that I had felt before because of a past relationship, which was also, cheating, and all that spiked up, and now I felt insecure. I felt like I wasn't worth enough. I felt like I wasn't good enough for my husband. So all those insecurities started kicking in. So yes, I read that book based on how to cope with that, right?
Yeah.
How to begin to heal within yourself, but also how to support your spouse as he going through this restoration process, right? Because that's something that we'll offer. I can't point the finger at him like, oh my God, how did you, how could you, why did you, right? How can I also help you through that healing process of restoration?
Yeah, I think we were both healing. She understood it was an addiction, and addictions pretty much take over. As much as it doesn't mean that you don't love the person you're with. It just, the addiction kind of takes over your willpower, and you have no self-control. But it's also not an excuse. It's not an excuse at all. And so I needed to recognize that that I couldn't use as an excuse. I needed to be patient with her as she was dealing with her emotions as well, and how that my actions then caused her not to trust, and also to have insecurities of her own, and then also her being patient with me. So, but at the same time, we both had to be mature about our conversations and our connections and the things that we needed to talk about.
Yeah, and I think, again, always seek a counselor. There's are definitely special, counselors that work with that. And I know he was able to do that, and we will be able to begin to restore our relationship and our marriage, right? To a point that we felt like, okay, we are moving in the right direction, right? Because things happen in our marriages, right? The vows are really specific, for better or for worse, right? This was one of our worst moments in our marriage, and I could not just say I'm done. I had to figure out, how do we do this together, and how do we come back again to begin a new journey, right, together? Because you can't erase that. It happened, but I look at it as it was a moment in our marriage that this is going to only make us stronger. And I always looked at it in that way. It's only going to make us stronger, and moved from that moment of how that was going to make us stronger, and really actually being intentional on how to love my spouse, how to support him through that. And we healed each other. I can honestly say that we both healed each other from that.
Yeah. And so it's crazy, because it was after that kind of broke, that then, and as we speed up, this was 2008, then in 2009, remember that we were already struggling with having a child. We talked about in our last one that we lost one. And so by May of 2009, we started going through like therapy, or what do you call that? Like
support. I mean, we needed to find out what was happening medically.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I think that was the
so
first.
we went. Yeah, we went to
first cycle of finding
yeah.
out, okay, what was happening.
Yeah,
right?
that she couldn't get pregnant. So we went to an expert about it, and that took us from like the end of November. I mean, the end of 2008 all the way to 2009. She was getting like shots. And we were just checking, like, okay, what is it? Like, we need an expert to help us understand this and see if we need support.
Yeah.
By May of 2009, though, you got the news that
Yeah.
it was pretty much they've tried everything.
I know. I think that was the most heartbreaking moment that any mother to be or wants to be
No problem.
can hear from your doctor's mouth. It says, Carla, we tried everything. I don't know what else to do. There's nothing wrong with you, really, or nothing wrong with Joelle. We just have tried it all, and this is the end of the path of what do you know, we can't do anything else. We offered you everything that we could. And I remember going back, leaving that office, that doctor's office. I didn't call him. I just trying to just digest, right? Observe all this information that doctor have given me. And I just remember going to him and just tell him there's nothing else that they can do, right? I get emotional because that's the moment that men, earth, right? Men tell you that there's nothing that they can do, and how to receive that and share that with my husband. There's nothing else we can do. We tried it all. And you know, I remember him hugging me. We cried together. That's all we did. We just cried together. We really, really cried together. But I remember at the end of the day, I guess now it's God's turn, right? You know, you thinking us being Christian, well, God should have been always being the first, but we're still flesh, right? We wanted to see certain things, but I'm gonna leave it at that.
Yeah, you're gonna have to find out the next video, like what happens in May and then June. What happens after that?
Mm-hmm. And
so they can follow us on.
Follow us on TikTok. Subscribe to our YouTube page and I Take D Ministry, and also we are also on Facebook and on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah, so thank you again for spending some time with us. This is a moment where we're just being vulnerable and open, because we know that we're not the only ones that have gone through some of these experiences.
Yes.
And maybe not the same, but close to it. And so I hope it encourages you, and that you're able to also have perhaps conversations that you need to have in a mature way with your spouse. So take care of yourself, and we'll see you next time.